The human spaceship floated quietly in the blackness of space, its silver hull glinting under the light of a distant sun. Inside, the crew of the Odyssey prepared for their first landing on the mysterious planet Xylar. Humans had been exploring distant worlds for decades, but this planet was special. It was rumored to be home to some of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy, creatures that even the most advanced alien civilizations feared. Among the humans was a little boy named Tommy. He was only 7 years old, small and wiry, with a shock of messy brown hair and bright, curious eyes. He was not like the other humans. While the crew focused on scanners, data, and protocols, Tommy was already imagining the creatures they might meet. He loved adventure, loved the unknown, and had a fearless heart that seemed to grow bigger every time he discovered something new. The spaceship touched down on the rocky surface of Xylar with a soft hum. Dust rose from the ground, sparkling like tiny diamonds in the sunlight. Outside, the planet was alive with strange colors. Towering plants swayed without wind, and distant mountains shimmered with a strange bluish glow. The air smelled faintly sweet, yet sharp at the same time. Commander Sarah Blake, the human mission leader, opened the hatch. "All right, team," she said firmly. "Stay alert. Xylar is beautiful but dangerous. Stick together. Remember, nothing is more important than your safety." The humans stepped out, their boots crunching on the rough ground. Tommy, holding his little backpack tightly, ran a few steps ahead, drawn to the shimmering forest in the distance. "Tommy!" one of the scientists shouted. "Stay close!" But Tommy was already exploring. He was fascinated by the alien flowers that glowed faintly under the sunlight and the strange, floating rocks that hovered above the ground as if defying gravity. He didn't notice how silent the planet felt. There were no birds, no insects, only the faint rumble of distant mountains. Suddenly, a shadow passed over him. Tommy looked up and froze. In the sky, he saw wings larger than any building, gliding silently above. It was a draken, one of the deadliest creatures on Xylar. Its scales shimmered like molten metal, and its eyes, golden and piercing, scanned the ground below. The humans behind him gasped. Drakens were feared across the galaxy. Their strength, speed, and intelligence made them almost unbeatable. Stories of drakens destroying entire alien villages were whispered in every corner of space. Commander Blake's voice trembled slightly. "Everyone, stay calm. Keep your distance. Do not provoke it." But Tommy was mesmerized. Instead of fear, he felt curiosity. He had read about dangerous animals on Earth, about lions and crocodiles, about bears and snakes, and he had learned that they were not evil. They were just creatures, trying to live in their world. Maybe the same was true here. Slowly, Tommy took a few steps forward, his eyes never leaving the draken. The other humans watched in disbelief. A little boy was walking toward the most feared creature on the planet. The draken landed nearby with a soft thud. Dust rose in clouds, making everyone cough. Its massive head tilted, and its glowing eyes focused on Tommy. The humans froze. Even the scientists, who had studied dangerous species for years, could barely breathe. Tommy stopped a few meters away and knelt down. He remembered what his mother used to tell him. If you meet a wild animal, respect it. Do not be afraid, but do not be reckless. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "Hello. You're beautiful." The draken's eyes narrowed, and its nostrils flared. It sniffed the air around Tommy. The humans behind him were holding their breath. Some wanted to run, others wanted to grab him. But Tommy didn't move. He felt a strange calm, as if the creature could sense he meant no harm. For minutes, neither moved. The draken studied him, and Tommy studied the draken. The silence was only broken by the soft hum of the spaceship in the distance and the distant rumble of Xylar's mountains. Finally, Tommy did something that no one expected. He slowly reached out his hand and touched the draken's nose. The humans gasped. The draken's nose was enormous, rough, and hotter than the air around it. Tommy didn't flinch. He leaned closer and kissed the tip of its nose gently. The aliens observing the planet from orbit would have been shocked. If they had been here, they would have thought the boy was insane. But Tommy didn't care. He was acting out of trust and curiosity, not fearlessness alone. The Draken blinked once. Then, surprisingly, it didn't attack. It didn't roar. Instead, it lowered its massive head, allowing Tommy to touch it more. A low, vibrating sound came from deep in its chest. The humans realized it was not a roar of anger but a purr, a sound of calm contentment. Commander Blake's jaw dropped. Is it friendly?" she whispered. No one dared speak louder. Tommy smiled. "He's not mean. He just wants a friend," he said softly. The Draken moved its head slowly, as if inviting Tommy to come closer. Tommy reached out again and patted the creature's nose. He could feel the heat, the power, and the life within it. And yet, despite its deadly reputation, it seemed gentle, almost protective. The other humans started to relax slightly. They had come to explore, to study, to survive. But this was something new. They realized that humans had something the other creatures on Xylar might never understand. Courage combined with compassion. Tommy stayed with the Draken for hours, talking to it softly, touching its scales, and exploring the valley around it. He discovered that it responded to his words, his movements, and his calm energy. Each time he smiled or whispered kindly, the Drakon seemed to relax more. The alien observers, who had long considered humans weak and fragile, watched from a distance, astonished. How could such a small, delicate creature affect a being they had feared for centuries? Their assumptions about humans began to change. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Tommy finally turned to look at his team. He waved and said, "Come see. He's not scary if you are kind." Slowly the humans approached, keeping a safe distance. They watched as Tommy and the Draken interacted, amazed at the bond forming before their eyes. Some took notes, some filmed, and some just stood silently, learning that bravery was not only about weapons or strength, but about trust, empathy, and heart. That night, Tommy slept beside the Draken, the boy and the beast forming an unlikely friendship. The humans camped nearby, whispering in awe about what they had witnessed. For the first time, they felt that humans were not only explorers, they were special, capable of understanding and connecting with life in ways no one else could. Far above them, the stars twinkled, and Xylar seemed less like a dangerous world and more like a planet full of possibility. The Draken had not only survived that first encounter, but had begun to respect the little human boy. And in doing so, it had taught the humans something important. Courage, kindness, and understanding could be more powerful than fear, aggression, or technology. And so, the first chapter of their adventure on Xylar ended, with the humans and the Drakon forming a bond that would change the planet forever. Tommy's fearless heart had revealed a truth the galaxy had forgotten. Sometimes the smallest beings can make the biggest difference. The sun rose slowly over the alien world of Xylar, casting long shadows across the jagged cliffs and glowing forests. The humans of the Odyssey team stirred in their camp, still amazed by what they had witnessed the night before. Tommy, however, was already awake, sitting beside the enormous Drakon that had become his unlikely friend. The Draken stirred its massive head, letting out a low rumble that sounded almost like a greeting. Tommy giggled and reached up to pat the shimmering scales on the creature's snout. "Good morning, friend," he whispered. The Draken blinked its enormous golden eyes and lowered its head slightly, acknowledging him. The humans watched in awe. Commander Blake stepped forward carefully. "Tommy, remember, we still need to be cautious," she said, though her voice carried a mixture of concern and admiration. Even she could not deny that the Draken had shown a surprising level of calm around the little boy. Tommy waved her off with a smile. "Don't worry, he's not going to hurt me." Far away, high in the cliffs of Xylar, a group of the planet's native aliens observed the scene. These beings were tall and slender, with translucent skin and large, dark eyes that reflected intelligence and caution. Among them was Commander Zorak, a respected leader known for his sharp mind and strong sense of pride. He frowned as he watched the humans interact with the Drakon. Impossible, Zorak muttered to his aides. No human could survive near a Draken. It is too dangerous. Yet the boy, he is not afraid. He, he communicates with it. The aides whispered among themselves, equally shocked. It cannot be. Perhaps the Drakon senses something in him, one said, still incredulous. Zorak's eyes narrowed. If this is true, then humans are more than we thought. We must observe carefully. Back at the camp, Tommy and the Draken began exploring the valley together. The Draken moved slowly, its massive claws barely leaving marks in the glowing soil. Tommy walked along its side, pointing at strange plants, laughing when small alien birds darted past. The Draken seemed content, lowering its head to sniff or examine the things Tommy pointed out. The humans began following at a safe distance, taking notes and recording everything. Every movement, every reaction of the Drakon was astonishing. The boy had done something no human or alien had ever done before. He had approached the deadliest creature on Xylar and earned its trust without fear. Hours passed, and the humans noticed something extraordinary. The Draken seemed to respond not only to Tommy's voice but also to his emotions. When Tommy laughed or smiled, the Draken rumbled in response, almost like a purr. When Tommy looked concerned, the Draken stayed close, seemingly offering reassurance. "Look at that," said one scientist in awe. "It's like he understands it, and it understands him." Commander Blake nodded slowly. "We've always measured intelligence and strength differently. But this is something else. The boy is forming a bond that we can't even explain yet." Meanwhile, the alien observers on the cliffs were growing more unsettled. They had long considered Drakens untouchable, dangerous, and uncontrollable. Yet here was a human boy walking among them with ease, even touching their noses and climbing onto their backs. Zorak turned to his aide, his voice sharp. "This changes everything. Humans are fragile, yes, but they possess something unique. They are not ruled by fear like we are. They are brave and compassionate. Perhaps their power is in their heart." As the day wore on, Tommy decided to explore a nearby cavern with the Draken. The humans hesitated but followed cautiously. Inside, the cavern shimmered with crystalline walls that reflected the light in dazzling patterns. The Draken moved carefully, its massive body folding to fit into the narrow space. Tommy ran ahead, giggling as he touched crystals and watched the colors dance. Suddenly, the Draken stopped. Its body stiffened and it let out a low growl. Tommy froze. Ahead, a smaller creature with razor-sharp claws and glowing eyes emerged from the shadows. It was clearly aggressive, hissing and baring its teeth. The humans panicked, expecting an attack. Some even stepped back in fear. But Tommy remained calm. He stepped forward slowly, speaking softly. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The Draken responded immediately, positioning itself between Tommy and the smaller creature. Its wings spread slightly, and it let out a warning roar, not loud enough to harm, but enough to signal dominance. The smaller creature hesitated, then retreated into the shadows, intimidated by the Draken's presence. The humans could not believe what they were seeing. A 7-year-old boy had not only faced danger, but had guided the deadliest creature on Xylar to protect him, and others. The bond between them was visible, unmistakable. Later, as they left the cavern, Tommy climbed onto the Drakon's nose again, brushing its scales gently. "You're amazing," he said. The Drakon rumbled in response, a sound that seemed almost like a laugh. The alien observers, still hidden on the cliffs, recorded every moment. Zorak's eyes widened. This human child, he has something that no species we know possesses. Courage, empathy, and an ability to connect with beings even we fear. We must learn from this, carefully. That night, the humans and the Drakon rested together in the valley. Tommy lay on the ground, his head against the Draken's warm nose. The stars above reflected in the Draken's scales, creating a scene of peace and wonder. Commander Blake and the team gathered nearby, still in awe. "Tomorrow," Blake said quietly to herself, "the galaxy will see humans differently. This boy, He is showing us all what humans are truly capable of. Tommy, of course, slept soundly, dreaming of flying through the glowing forests of Xylar with his friend, the Draken. In his dreams, they soared above mountains, raced across sparkling rivers, and discovered hidden valleys filled with creatures no human had ever seen. Meanwhile, Zorak and the aliens began to prepare for a closer approach. They wanted to study humans, not to harm, but to understand. Perhaps there was more to strength than claws, teeth, and technology. Perhaps there was heart. The next morning, Tommy woke to find the Drakon waiting patiently. Without hesitation, he climbed onto its massive snout again. The humans and the aliens watched silently as the boy spoke softly to the creature, telling it stories, making it laugh in its deep, rumbling way, and showing it trust without fear. As the day progressed, the Drakon allowed Tommy to climb higher, even onto its back, to explore the forests of Xylar. The humans followed cautiously, amazed at how gentle the creature was under the guidance of a small human child. By midday, word of the humans and the Drakon had spread to other alien groups on Xylar. Creatures that once fled at the sight of humans now paused, curious, watching as the boy led the Drakon through the forests. The balance of fear and respect had shifted, and all eyes were on the little human who had tamed the untamable. Tommy, unaware of the attention he had drawn, continued his exploration. He laughed as he jumped from the Drakon's nose to a nearby rock, discovering glowing plants and strange crystal formations. The Drakon followed carefully, its massive claws treading lightly to avoid hurting him. In the late afternoon, the humans gathered around to discuss their observations. Commander Blake spoke to her team. "We have witnessed something extraordinary. This is not just bravery, it is understanding. Humans may be physically weaker than many alien species, but they possess something equally powerful: the ability to connect, to show kindness, and to earn trust in ways no technology or weapon can." The alien observers, still hidden, nodded silently. They began to realize that humans were indeed special, not for strength or speed, but for heart, courage, and the ability to inspire even the most fearsome creatures to listen. As the sun set on Xylar, the valley glowed with soft light. Tommy sat once again beside the Drakon, brushing its scales and whispering gently. The humans, inspired and humbled, set up their camp nearby, knowing that what they had witnessed would change their understanding of the universe forever. And for the first time on Xylar, both human and alien observers understood that the little boy had achieved something no one else could. He had not only earned the trust of the deadliest creature on the planet, but he had also reminded everyone that courage and kindness could overcome fear in ways unimaginable. The Drakon rumbled softly as it lay down beside Tommy, wrapping its enormous tail gently around him like a protective shield. The humans watched in awe, realizing that the bond between the boy and the Drakon was not just friendship, it was a lesson for the galaxy. No one could have predicted that a small human child, fearless and full of heart, would change the way both humans and aliens viewed power, strength, and courage. The next morning on Xylar, the sun rose in brilliant hues of gold and pink. The valley where Tommy and the Drakon had formed their unique friendship sparkled under the new light. Birds with glowing feathers flew lazily through the sky, while small creatures scurried through the underbrush, watching the humans and the Drakon with cautious curiosity. Tommy woke first, stretching his small arms and blinking at the rising sun. The Drakon lay nearby, its massive body curled protectively around him. Its golden eyes opened slowly, tracking every movement of the little boy. Tommy smiled and ran to its enormous nose, patting it gently. "Good morning," he whispered. The Drakon responded with a low, vibrating rumble, almost like a greeting. The humans were beginning to understand the incredible connection between the boy and the creature. Even the scientists, who had studied dangerous animals across galaxies, were astonished. One whispered quietly to Commander Blake, "I've never seen such a bond. It's as if the Drakon actually understands him and respects him." Commander Blake nodded, her expression serious. "This boy is changing everything we thought we knew about humans and creatures like this. We have to observe carefully, but we also need to protect him." Tommy, oblivious to the adult concerns, climbed onto the Drakon's massive snout and laughed as it flexed its wings slightly, allowing him to balance easily. The Draken seemed eager to explore, moving carefully through the valley while keeping Tommy secure. As they moved, they encountered a group of smaller alien creatures. Unlike the Draken, these creatures were quick and mischievous, darting through the air and across the ground. The humans expected them to attack or flee, but something unexpected happened. The Draken and Tommy moved slowly, showing patience and calm. The smaller creatures approached, sniffed the Draken, and even nuzzled Tommy gently. The humans watched in awe. Tommy's calm, fearless nature seemed to inspire trust in all living beings around him. Every creature reacted not with fear, but with curiosity and respect. Meanwhile, on the cliffs above, the alien observers, led by Commander Zorak, were growing increasingly fascinated and concerned. "This is unprecedented," Zorak said, his voice low. "No human should be able to command the respect of a Drakon, let alone smaller creatures. There is something remarkable in their nature. They are special." One aide whispered, "Perhaps it is their heart, Commander. They do not see threats as we do. They connect through trust and kindness." Zorak nodded slowly. "Yes, and this boy is showing us all how powerful that connection can be." As the day progressed, Tommy and the Draken ventured further from their camp. The valley gave way to a dense forest, its trees glowing faintly with luminescent leaves. Strange fruits hung from the branches, some emitting soft pulses of light. Tommy climbed onto the Draken's back, marveling at the sights around him. "Look at this, friend," he said, pointing to a tree covered in bright orange fruits. The Draken lowered its head, letting him reach the lowest branches safely. Tommy plucked a fruit, tasting it cautiously. "Mmm, sweet," he said, sharing a small piece with the Draken, who sniffed it curiously before crunching it gently with its massive jaws. The humans followed at a safe distance, recording every movement. Every gesture, every interaction was another lesson in how humans could connect with creatures in ways no alien technology or weapon could achieve. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the forest. The ground shook slightly and birds took flight in a panic. Tommy froze, his eyes scanning the trees. Out of the shadows emerged another Draken, larger and more menacing than the one he knew. Its scales were dark and jagged, its eyes glowing with anger and dominance. The humans gasped. They had expected danger, but seeing a second Draken so close was terrifying. Even the first Draken growled, a deep warning rumble that shook the leaves. Tommy, however, did not flinch. He climbed down from the Draken's back, standing tall before the creature. "It's okay," he said softly, his voice steady. "I don't want to fight. We just want to be friends." The second Drakon tilted its head, confused. It had never encountered a human who was not afraid, never encountered a creature that submitted peacefully rather than attacking. Slowly, it stepped closer, its massive claws leaving deep prints in the glowing soil. The first Draken moved slightly in front of Tommy, protective but calm. It rumbled softly, a sound that seemed almost like reassurance. Tommy reached out a hand, and with careful steps, approached the second Draken. He brushed its snout gently, whispering words of friendship. The humans behind him could hardly believe what they were seeing. A little boy, no bigger than a tree trunk, was calming the deadliest predators of Xylar with nothing but kindness and courage. Minutes passed, and then something extraordinary happened. The second Drakon lowered its head, allowing Tommy to pat it. Its growl softened into a purr, and the humans realized that Tommy had done what no one else could. He had earned the trust of not one, but two of the planet's deadliest creatures. Commander Blake and the scientists exchanged astonished glances. "This is incredible," Blake whispered. "He's showing us that strength is not only in power, but in heart." High above, Commander Zorak and the alien observers watched silently, their expressions unreadable. They had seen many displays of power in their lives, but none had moved them like this. The courage and compassion of a small human child were rewriting what they thought they knew about strength and leadership. As the day wore on, Tommy climbed onto the back of the first Draken, using it as a platform to approach the second. Carefully, he patted both creatures, showing them that he meant no harm. The Drakens responded with gentle rumbles and soft nudges, creating a scene of harmony that no human or alien had expected. The humans followed, taking notes and recording, but they kept their distance. They were learning a lesson they would never forget. Humans had the ability to inspire trust and friendship, even among the most dangerous beings. By evening, Tommy and the Drakens had returned to the valley near their camp. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the glowing trees. The little boy sat between the two massive creatures, brushing their scales and whispering softly. The humans gathered around, watching in awe. "I've never seen anything like this," one scientist said quietly. "He is changing everything we thought we knew about humans and creatures like this." Commander Blake nodded. "He's not just brave, he's teaching us something important. Humans are special. Our strength is not just in our bodies or our technology. It is in our courage, our heart, and our ability to connect with others." Meanwhile, Zorak and the alien observers had made a decision. They would approach humans carefully, not to interfere, but to learn. Perhaps there was a lesson in this boy's courage, a lesson that could change the way their entire species thought about strength and leadership. As night fell, Tommy lay down between the two Drakens, resting his head against one and holding the other's massive claw gently in his hand. The humans camped nearby, whispering among themselves, inspired and humbled by what they had witnessed. For the first time, humans and aliens alike realized that courage and kindness could inspire respect and trust in ways no power or weapon ever could. Tommy's bravery and empathy were a beacon of hope, showing that even the smallest beings could change the course of history. And so, the bond between the little human boy and the Drakens deepened. With every gentle touch, every whispered word, Tommy was proving that strength was not only measured in power, but also in heart, compassion, and courage. The stars shone brightly above Xylar, reflecting off the scales of the two enormous Drakens. In that quiet, glowing valley, a small human child had changed the way everyone, human and alien alike, thought about the world, about courage, and about the power of trust. The adventure was far from over. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and perhaps even more astonishing lessons about what it truly meant to be human. But for now, Tommy slept peacefully, safe between his enormous friends, dreaming of the many wonders still waiting to be explored on Xylar. The next morning on Xylar, a golden sun rose over the valley where Tommy had spent the past few days with the Drakens. The air was crisp, and the glow from the alien plants made the forest appear magical. Birds with shimmering feathers chirped softly, and small creatures peeked out from the underbrush. It was a world both beautiful and dangerous, but for Tommy it was home, at least for this adventure. Tommy stretched, rubbing his eyes, and looked at his massive friends. The two Drakens were awake, their enormous eyes following every movement of the small human boy. The larger Draken rumbled softly as Tommy approached, brushing against its nose gently. "Good morning, friend," Tommy said, smiling. The Draken rumbled again, a sound that seemed like a laugh. The smaller Draken nudged him playfully, and Tommy giggled, patting its scales. The humans of the Odyssey team had been watching silently from a safe distance. Commander Blake shook her head in amazement. "Every day I see something new," she whispered to a fellow scientist. "This boy, he's changing the way we understand courage, connection, and even intelligence." Tommy, of course, didn't care about scientific discussions. He had something more important in mind: exploration. He climbed carefully onto the back of the larger Draken, using its strong, warm scales to balance himself. The Draken flexed its wings slightly, letting him move comfortably. The humans followed cautiously, keeping their eyes wide open for any danger. High above, Commander Zorak and his alien observers had gathered with others from Xylar. Word had spread quickly across the planet about the human boy who could approach and calm the deadliest Drakens. The aliens were still wary, but curiosity had overcome fear. Zorak looked down at the valley and said quietly, "The humans, they are unlike any species we have encountered. They are small, fragile, yet fearless, compassionate, and wise beyond their size. There is a lesson here." The humans began documenting the day carefully. Every gesture, every interaction, every sound the Dracons made was important, but none of it compared to what was about to happen. As Tommy guided the larger Dracon through the glowing forest, a loud, terrifying roar echoed across the valley. Every creature froze. Trees shook, dust rose in clouds. Even the humans felt a shiver of fear. From the shadow of the mountains, a massive Dracon emerged, a creature even bigger than the ones Tommy knew, with black scales and eyes like molten fire. The humans panicked, stepping back instinctively. Some whispered prayers. Even Commander Blake's hands shook slightly. But Tommy stood still, as if frozen by a quiet confidence rather than fear. The two Dracons beside him rumbled low, protective sounds that shook the ground. They positioned themselves around Tommy, forming a shield of scales and wings. Tommy looked up at the enormous newcomer calmly. "It's okay," he said softly. "I don't want to fight. I just want to be friends." The humans could hardly believe their eyes. A small boy, no bigger than a tree trunk, was speaking to the most feared creature on the planet without a hint of fear. The massive Dracon blinked, confused. It had never encountered a human who did not tremble, a creature that did not flee or attack. Slowly, it stepped closer. Its movements were cautious, yet curious. Tommy extended his small hand, brushing the tip of its enormous snout. The ground shook slightly as the Dracon lowered its head, letting him touch it. The humans gasped in astonishment. The boy's courage and kindness were stronger than any fear they had known. High above, Commander Zorak's eyes widened. "It is impossible," he muttered. "No human should have this power. It is not in strength nor in weaponry. It is in heart, in courage, in trust." Tommy smiled gently. "You don't need to be scary if you are kind," he whispered. Slowly, the enormous Dracon rumbled, its deep, vibrating sound softening into something gentle. The two Dracons beside him shifted closer, nudging him lightly as if to say, "We have your back." The humans realized something extraordinary. The bond between Tommy and the Dracons was not just trust, it was leadership, earned not by fear, but by respect and heart. As the day wore on, Tommy climbed atop the largest Dracon, patting its massive scales and whispering softly. The creature allowed him to ride on its back, moving gracefully through the valley. The smaller Dracons followed, forming a protective formation around the boy. The humans walked alongside, documenting every moment, still in awe of the little boy who had tamed the untamable. The aliens on the cliffs, including Zorak, watched in silence. They began discussing among themselves what this meant. "Humans are small, yes," said one alien elder, "but their courage is unlike any we have seen. Their ability to inspire trust is remarkable." Zorak nodded slowly. "It is not their size, not their strength, but their heart. They are fearless, yet gentle, brave, yet wise. Perhaps this is why they endure in the galaxy while others fall." As Tommy guided the Dracons through the forest, they discovered a hidden valley filled with luminescent crystals and strange, floating waterfalls. The valley was breathtaking, and even the humans could not stop staring. Tommy climbed to the tallest rock, waving to the humans below. "Come see, it's amazing," he called. The Dracons followed carefully, moving slowly to allow him to explore safely. The humans hesitated, realizing the trust Tommy had earned with these creatures was extraordinary. No one else could have guided them through the valley like this. Suddenly, a small group of alien scouts approached. They had come to see the humans firsthand, unsure if they posed a threat. Their eyes widened as they saw Tommy sitting atop the Draken, patting it gently while the other Drakons circled protectively around him. Zorak stepped forward cautiously. "I have underestimated you humans," he said, his voice carrying over the valley. "You are not weak. You are remarkable." Tommy looked down at the alien leader, smiling. "Hello," he said simply. "We just want to be friends." The aliens were stunned. This tiny human had approached not just a single Draken, but multiple, and now they were all calm around him. Zorak slowly nodded. "Perhaps humans teach us something important. that courage and kindness can be stronger than fear and force. The humans cheered quietly. They had never seen the alien observers acknowledge humans in such a way. It was a turning point, not only in their mission, but in how humans would be seen on Xylar forever. As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Tommy climbed down from the Draken's back. He sat between the two massive creatures, brushing their scales gently and whispering softly. The humans and aliens watched in awe, realizing that they were witnessing something extraordinary. The Drakens rumbled in unison, a sound that resonated through the valley. It was not a sound of warning, but of harmony and trust. Tommy's bravery had earned not only their respect, but their loyalty. The humans began to understand that they had witnessed a rare moment in the galaxy, one where heart and courage had triumphed over fear. That night, the humans camped in the valley, while Tommy slept between the two Drakens. The stars above Xylar twinkled, reflecting off the glowing crystals and the shimmering scales of the creatures. Even the alien observers stayed nearby, quietly taking notes and learning that humans were unlike any species they had ever known. Zorak turned to his aides. "We must share this with the others," he said. "Humans are not weak. They have something far greater than brute strength. They have courage, empathy, and the power to inspire loyalty and trust. Perhaps we have much to learn from them." The humans would never forget this day. They had come to Xylar to explore, to learn, and to survive. But they had discovered something far more valuable: that humans, even the smallest and youngest among them, had the ability to change the universe not by force, but by heart. Tommy's friendship with the Drakens became legendary, a story told across planets and species. He had shown that courage and kindness were strengths no one could ignore. Even the deadliest creatures could be guided with patience and respect, and the galaxy began to look at humans in a new light. As dawn approached, Tommy stirred in his sleep, smiling in his dreams. The Drakens rested nearby, protective and loyal. The humans watched quietly, inspired and humbled. In that glowing valley on Xylar, a small boy had taught the galaxy a lesson that would last for generations. That true strength is not measured by size, weapons, or power, but by courage, empathy, and the heart to reach out to the unknown. And so, the humans earned the respect of Xylar. The Drakens became lifelong friends, and a little boy named Tommy showed the universe what it truly meant to be human. The adventure of Xylar was far from over, but one thing was certain: humans had proven themselves in ways no one could have imagined, and the galaxy would never forget the courage of a small boy and the friendship of the deadliest dragons.